All right. Well, I will go ahead and get us started. So thank you, everyone, and welcome back to our 2024 UCR Staff Conference. And it's been so amazing having all of you join us. So as you know, every session is being recorded and it will be posted on the UCR Learning Management System. But if you missed any sessions and you want to just catch up now, you can actually look at our website, the Staff Conference, and you can see any of the replays for the next couple days. They'll all be there. So take advantage of it. Also, if you'd like closed captions for this session, you can click on the show closed caption button at the bottom of the screen. And we do ask that you absolutely use chat to interact with each other, be lots of lively participants, but please submit your questions using the Q&A feature, not the chat. That way we can upvote your questions and make sure we get to them at the end of the session. So with all of that, I would love to know where you are all from, if you're all my UCR friends, or if there's any other campuses out there with us today. Feel free to type that in the chat. Ooh, Maja Bean, hello, UCOP. And I think I see a Berkeley friend in there too. Woohoo, hi, Courtney. And hello, UCR, we love you as well. All right, so cool. So just want to remind everyone, we are going to get started, and we always ask that everyone continue to be mindful of our UCR's principles of community. So with that, I will introduce our amazing speaker, Jen Bowser, whom very near and dear to my heart. Jen Bowser is serving currently as a chair-elect on the Council of UC Staff Assemblies, which is also known as CUCSA. Jen values community and sees her role on CUCSA as fostering a workplace that is supportive, safe, and rewarding for all staff. Jen's current role is the Sustainability Procurement Manager at UC Santa Barbara. Jen leads efforts for implementing sustainable procurement practices, increasing awareness of sustainability programs, and helping to ensure UCSB is on track to meet their sustainable procurement goals. Jen also serves as UCSB's Small Business Officer. Jen transitioned to UC Santa Barbara in early 2023 from another beautiful campus, UC San Diego, where she managed sustainability engagement efforts, coordinating various conservation outreach and educational programs for students, researchers, and staff on the UC San Diego campus for 7 years. So we all need a Jen on our campus. Thank you so much, Jen, for being our speaker, and I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, Erica, and good afternoon, and thank you for joining me today. As Erica mentioned, my name is Jen Bowser, and this session is Volunteering to Lead. Deciding to volunteer for a leadership role is shaped by a combination of personal values, interests, motivations, and the opportunity that's at hand. So this session will cover why it's important to step up even when you think you're not ready to, how to empower others to volunteer, and tips for navigating success. First, a big shout out to the organizers of the UCR Staff Conference. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the UCR Staff Assembly for inviting me to present today. A little bit about myself. As Erica mentioned, my paid position is the Sustainable Procurement Program Manager and Small Business Officer at UC Santa Barbara. I'll be celebrating my 10 years with the UC in October. I'm originally from Western Massachusetts, and specifically Springfield, which is about an hour and a half west of Boston, and is best known for Theodore Geisel, as you may know him better, Dr. Seuss, Webster Dictionary, I know, who knew? And for all my March Madness fans out there, it's also the birthplace of basketball. I graduated from Western New England College in Springfield with a bachelor's degree in accounting, and my career began when I was hired as an accounting supervisor for a nonprofit organization that helped individuals with developmental disabilities. Several years later, I met a guy and I moved to Boston. I worked for the staffing firm Robert Half for a few years before I made my way to academia. I did gift and endowment accounting at the Harvard School of Public Health for 6 years until my husband and I decided to move to San Diego purely for the weather. I started working in financial services at UC San Diego, but truthfully, I really didn't enjoy it. The department culture wasn't a good fit for me, and I had 2 managers who started after me who were bullies. And this is where my story begins about volunteering. So not until I was out of college did I truly learn about volunteering. As my role as the accounting supervisor, I worked closely with our banker, who was a Rotarian, and he invited me to a weekly meeting. Oh, that went backwards, not forwards. Hold on. There we go. He invited me to a weekly Rotary meeting. I had heard about Rotary, and I recognized, similar to these signs that are on this slide, that I would see around roadways in neighboring towns, but I wasn't familiar with their mission. So this idea of being part of something global and working together with people in my community got me hooked. It was the sense of community and purpose I didn't know I was craving. Rotary's motto is service above self, and it's something that I've carried with me even these 20 plus years ago, of trying to do more than just what benefits me. When I moved to Boston, I attended a local Rotary meeting there, and it wasn't at all similar to my experience in Springfield. So for years, I looked for the next thing that I could connect with. And it wasn't until I was working at Harvard and I was seeking ways to get involved that I found this. So my colleague had been serving on the school's green team and suggested I take her place. I went to a few meetings and decided, yeah, this is a good fit for me. The leadership was changing, and I took it as the opportunity for me to step up. So I asked another member if he'd be interested in co-chairing the team with me. We restructured, implemented several new programs, and ultimately became the most successful staff green team at Harvard. And this picture on the right-hand side is now 11 years old. And so, phone technology, not so great back then. It's really fuzzy, but you can see our award kind of in the center there. It was like a piece of wood with a star cut into it. But during this time is really when I found my voice. I started giving bi-weekly presentations during new employee orientation about Harvard's sustainability goals, how to recycle and compost, and ways that staff could get involved. People were telling me on a regular basis how I changed their behaviors and how they were more conscientious because of me. And as Erica knows, and some others who are friends with me on this call, they know that I get very emotional. So you'll start to see that as I talk about these things going forward. Ultimately, I found what really makes me tick. So fast forward to my second day at UC San Diego. I'm sitting in new employee orientation, and there's a slide about all the employee resource groups, one of which was the Staff Sustainability Network. I run upstairs to my office and I emailed the membership chair asking if I could join. I remember thinking when I hit send how much I hoped they were going to accept me. And not 5 minutes later, I got a response saying, yes, we'd love to have you. I now realize as a leader that anyone offering to help is always welcome. So about a year into my role with general accounting is when the office turned fully toxic, and I wanted out badly. Just so happens a position was posted for an engagement manager in the campus sustainability office. And I figured I had absolutely no chance, having literally no sustainability experience, professional sustainability experience, but I went for it, and I was their top candidate. Admittingly, I'm still in awe that I successfully switched careers by leveraging my experience volunteering. I continue to serve as an executive board member of the Staff Sustainability Network, which led me to the Staff Association. On other campuses, they're called staff assemblies. I find myself in a position of being asked if I'd be interested in running for chair-elect. I knew nothing about what was entailed or the desired qualities for someone serving in the role. And the first question that goes through my mind is, isn't there someone else who'd be better at this? Or maybe someone who's interested in doing this? The chair-elect at the time couldn't make it to the next Council of UC Staff Assemblies meeting and asked if I wanted to go in his place. So now I'm asking the Council of what now? Like, and you're telling me that the chair-elect and the chair of the staff association also serve on this council? Because that sounds like a lot. But I'm open to learning more. So I go to the council's meeting in Merced, which in and of itself is an adventure from San Diego. Travel to the meeting by plane, then a 2.5-hour car ride with 3 colleagues from UC San Diego, who just happened to be the UC San Diego Staff Association chair and the chair and chair-elect of CUCSA. It doesn't take me long before I'm beyond impressed with the mission and vision of CUCSA. I learned over the course of 2.5 days that CUCSA is composed of 3 officers and 2 delegates from each campus, including Berkeley Lab, Ag and Natural Resources, and the Office of the President. The council is dedicated to improving communications between UC administrators and staff, and its objective is to provide service to the university by advising and providing a staff perspective to decision makers. And this is where I learn about the term policy covered staff, and that CUCSA is involved in matters of interest and concern to those who are not exclusively represented. CUCSA advocated and advocates for pay increases, better benefits, amplifying voices. So I go back to work the following Monday after returning from Merced, and it is May 9th, 2020. I don't need to tell any of you what happened by the end of that week. Just needless to say, I knew what I needed to do. So I ran for chair-elect of the Staff Association, and I ran unopposed. Being chair-elect of a campus-wide staff organization during COVID was challenging. We went fully remote. We played yo-yo with whether to host in-person events. We got creative with building community through events over Zoom. We questioned return to work policies, asked if it was truly safe to be around one another, promoted getting vaccines, basically uncharted territory. So I emerged from my year as chair mid-2022, and I decided to take the next step, to get involved with CUCSA leadership by running for operations officer. I am incredibly organized, and I knew that I could bring a lot to the role by implementing new practices that could be carried forward year after year. However, I am convinced by my peers to run for chair-elect of CUCSA. Spent a lot of time thinking about it and decided, okay, I'll run for both. If I don't get elected for chair-elect, then I can still run for the operations role. I was not prepared for election day. I mean, I knew what I planned to say for my pitches. I wasn't prepared and wasn't expecting for this process to be as painful as it was. 2 runoffs just to determine who the 2 candidates would be. And in the end, I didn't win the chair-elect position. I immediately needed to get up in front of my peers and tell them why I now should be the next operations officer. Maybe one of the toughest moments for me professionally. I won the ops officer race, but the feeling of defeat was somehow overwhelming and frankly heartbreaking. I completed my term as operations officer last June, and I'm proud of all that I accomplished. I was tired and thought that I was done. But again, my peers encouraged me to consider running for chair-elect. And here we are. I'm now chair-elect of CUCSA. I want to say that it's difficult allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, but I share this story with you because it's real. And I think many of us struggle with knowing when we should throw our names in the hat and when it's the right time to. Oop, we went back again. Forward and again. There we go. So why it seems like a lot of us hesitate is this fear of not knowing enough, or what I hear a lot about is imposter syndrome. So volunteering to lead is more about possessing the personal drive, passion, and willingness to even try. It's important for us to lean onto others for support and guidance. No one expects you to have all of the answers, and frankly, you shouldn't expect that of yourself either. If you truly don't think you have the time to volunteer, then you probably don't. And the reason I say this is because as humans, we spend time doing what we enjoy. So you will find or make the time when you are drawn to the mission of a particular organization or are presented with the opportunity to gain experience doing something you're really interested in. There is no question that volunteering can be a lot of work, but it should fulfill you in some way. So for instance, it can be fun planning and hosting an event. And it's even more rewarding when hundreds or even thousands of people attend that event. And to take it a step further, when you begin to receive attendees' feedback, like, that was an amazing event, or I had a wonderful time. These are simple. I needed an event like this. Thanks for hosting such a meaningful and thoughtful event for staff. So let's look at the common reasons why people volunteer to lead. Overall, people volunteer to lead for a combination of public-spirited, personal, and professional reasons that are driven by their passion, values, and desire to make a difference, a positive difference, in the world around them. We're going to start with a sense of purpose. So many people desire to contribute to their communities or a cause that they really care about. And volunteering to lead provides them the opportunity to take a positive role in advancing these missions and making a positive impact. Personal growth. Leadership roles offer opportunities for personal growth and professional development. Leading others can help individuals in developing valuable skills, such as improving communication, decision-making, problem-solving, and I'm sorry to admit, but conflict resolution. Having the passion for a cause. So people often volunteer to lead because they have a deep passion for the mission or outlined objectives of an organization or project that they are involved in. And they're motivated by a desire to drive positive change and are willing to step up into leadership roles to help that change happen. Desire to make a difference. Notice I work in sustainability and here's a globe. That's coincidental. Leadership roles give individuals the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. So whether it's leading an entire organization, a project, or organizing an event, leaders have the opportunity to positively impact those around them. Recognition and respect. That some individuals are motivated to lead because of the recognition and respect that comes with leading other volunteers. So being seen as a leader within a volunteer group or organization can bring them a sense of pride and achievement. I think we're all familiar with the networking and connecting opportunities that the leadership roles tend to provide opportunities for networking, connecting with others who share a similar interest. And this can be valuable both in professional and personal growth, and also beneficial for expanding one's social circle. And a sense of achievement. So leading an organization, team, or project brings a sense of achievement and fulfillment, and guiding others towards a common goal or objective successfully can be really rewarding. So now let's look at how we inspire others. Inspiring others is a powerful way to influence, motivate, and uplift people around you. Here are some strategies. You need to lead by example. Demonstrate through your actions what you believe in. Your behaviors serve as a powerful inspiration to others for them to follow. You need to share your vision. Communicating your vision clearly and passionately is key. You need to help others see the big picture and how they can contribute to it specifically. And be authentic. People are inspired by those who are authentic. Being genuine in your interactions and transparent about your values and beliefs will get people inspired. Need to actively listen. Pay attention to the thoughts, concerns, and ideas of others. As leaders, we have great ideas, but our ideas are not the only ideas. And so you need to show respect and inspire trust and collaboration by actively listening to those around you. Provide support. Offer your support and encouragement to others whenever possible. Let them know that you believe in their abilities and that you're there to help them to succeed. No one has to do this alone, and you as a leader don't even have to do this alone. So providing support is actually also making sure that you ask for help when you need it to. Celebrate successes. Acknowledge and celebrate the achievement of others. You want to inspire them to continue striving for greatness and recognizing their efforts and their accomplishments, so they'll keep going. And encourage their growth. Encourage them to develop personally and professionally. So foster an environment where people feel safe to take risks, and reinforce the idea that it's okay to make mistakes because you'll learn from them. A lot of this work that we do is uncharted territory, as I mentioned, of leading the staff association during a pandemic, and there is no roadmap for that. And for those of you who are actively volunteering right now and even leading an organization, there aren't a lot of playbooks out there for how to do this. So mistakes happen. Be positive. Maintain a positive attitude even when times are challenging. Optimism is contagious and can inspire others to approach difficulties with resilience and determination. And tell stories. By sharing stories of success, perseverance, and overcoming obstacles, the stories that are inspiring have the power to captivate and motivate people in a way that, as much as we like them, facts and figures cannot. We do rely on data, and data does tell a great story. So I'm not telling anyone don't bring your data and charts and things, but you also need to tell your story and where you've been and what you've done, good and bad. And how you empower others is providing people with the opportunities to take on these responsibilities and make meaningful contributions. Empowering others fosters a sense of ownership and inspires them to shine. And you have to lead with passion, because people's passion is a great motivator. It's infectious. It can ignite a fire in others to pursue their own passions. And so you have to let your passion for your work and your beliefs shine through. Couldn't think of a better graphic for being patient than a turtle. You got to have patience and understanding. You need to understand that inspiration doesn't necessarily happen swiftly. So you have to be patient and provide guidance that is supportive of others as they find their own way. And remember that inspiration is personal, and individuals will be inspired and motivated by different things. So by incorporating these strategies into your interactions with others, you can create an environment where inspiration thrives. And with that, does anyone have any questions? Or would you like to talk about anything?
I have a question, Jen.
Yeah.
So if you were to do the whole process again, would you change any of it? And why would you change any of it if you had the opportunity?
I spend a lot of time thinking about where I've been, and I don't think I would. I know that the decisions I've made, those forks in the road, have gotten me to where I am today. And I'm proud of that. I can look back and say it was a struggle, it was hard, but I know that I made the right decision when I made it. And every day I'm just trying to make the best of my decisions.
I have a question for you, Jen.
Yes.
So that was the first time I'd heard your experience when you ran for chair-elect and operations. And I guess it's not so much a question as more of a comment, but maybe a question. I don't know how difficult, I can't even imagine how difficult that would have been to like want something so bad and then hearing that not right now, and then having to just pick yourself back up and just continue fighting. Like, what was going through your head? How did you find the strength to get through that difficult time?
Oh, Erica, I really don't know. Again, I was not prepared for that to happen. And I'm not saying that I expected I was going to win. It wasn't that. It was the amount of time it took us to figure out who was even running, because the people who had put their try that again, who had put their name in and accepted their nomination, I was comfortable losing to any of them. That would have been fine. But for there to be a tie the first time, and then there was a runoff for two people, including myself, and then to have to do it again, there's this feeling of, I thought people liked me. And that's what was going through my head in that moment of like, and now I have to tell them, but I want you to choose me now. And now what if they don't? Now what am I going to do? And that was early Friday morning of our meeting. So CUCSA meets for 2.5 days, Wednesday to Friday. And this is Friday morning, and there's still like a whole day ahead of us. And yeah, I was very present, but I don't think that I was really feeling what was happening until we left the meeting that day and we were in an Uber going back to the airport, and it all just kind of came down, and I was just drained. And so what I meant by saying it was overwhelmingly heartbreaking was that I was really excited to be chosen for operations officer, but at the same time couldn't not reflect on what happened for the chair elect role. So you experience these things and you learn and you grow from them. And I think they make you stronger.
Thank you, Jen, for that. It looks like we have a couple of additional questions. So one of them is in the chat. How do you balance daily workload and volunteer responsibilities with CUCSA? That is an excellent question.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. Because I actually do a lot of CUCSA work when I probably should be doing my own work. Hopefully not my boss is here. Like I said, when you're passionate about something, you find the energy and you make the time to work on it. And there are a lot of aspects of CUCSA that I really want to drive forward. And sometimes unlike my last tip, I'm not a very patient person. And so sometimes I just have to do them because I want that quick win. I want that immediate sense of achievement to be able to check something off the list. And really in my current position and in my previous position being a sustainability engagement manager, doing this education, being able to give people tools and resources and be able to share best practices with them is really where I think I shine. Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I get that. Like we're overwhelmed with resources that we do have available to us. And sometimes it's just a matter of finding them. with an organization like CUCSA, we have these hubs where our delegates can go. We have a website where we can post resources for staff assembly members or just staff. And really trying to put them in one place, to me, seems like an important goal for us, to be able to connect with more staff who can advocate on all of our behalfs. And so sometimes, yeah, okay, a lot of times I decide to work on CUCSA more than my day job. I will say in my previous job, doing the work for CUCSA and staff association were a welcomed break at times. You know, maybe I was working on a project and it was something I really believed in, but I just wasn't getting leadership buy-in, or I was just getting a lot of pushback. I did supervise a dozen students at multiple points in my career, directly supervised. And if it's not transparent, I care a lot about people. And so that was really hard to have 12 young adults that were looking to me for guidance and professional tips and support, especially during the pandemic when we were remote. It got to be really heavy. And so turning to this staff advocacy work, it was just a different topic. It was a change of pace. It was a different thing to focus on. And so sometimes it was just a much needed break. Hopefully that answers the question. But yeah, I spent a lot of time on staff advocacy stuff.
And just as a random side note, so staff assembly can be a lot of work, staff association, but then you have that on top of CUCSA and your full-time job. It's like, Jen, you're carrying 3 full-time jobs at once. That's powerful.
Luckily not at this moment. I am currently a member of the Santa Barbara Staff Assembly. I do marketing and social media, but not admittingly not to the extent that it could be. So that kind of hangs over my head. But yeah, when you serve for Santa Barbara or San Diego on CUCSA, the chair and chair-elect are, and I think that's true of Riverside as well, that you then are the delegate for CUCSA, and that we have discussions regularly of whether we should change our guidance on that. But it can be really helpful when you're chair and chair-elect of your local staff organization to then be in these conversations that are happening system-wide and vice versa.
All right, we have another question. This one's in the Q&A, and then I have one more in chat.
Yeah.
So the Q&A, it can be intimidating to volunteer to lead as a new person in an organization. Do you have tips on how to do this?
Again, what I've learned over this time is if you have projects as a leader, if you have projects that you're trying to chip away at, any person who's coming to you saying, I want to help, is always going to be welcome. It's important for you to be true to yourself and know what your strengths are. So my example is that I love singing. I don't drive because, for those of you who don't know, I'm still based in San Diego, even though I work for Santa Barbara. So my commute is like from the kitchen to this room. But when I did drive, I would belt out James Taylor songs at the top of my lungs. None of you would like to hear any of that today. None of you. There's nothing good about it. I like singing. I'm never going to be good at singing. So I'm not going to volunteer on a choir or anything that requires singing, that where you can actually hear me. If I can hide behind people, then that's okay. So you have to be true to yourself of knowing what your strengths are, where you can be of the most value. A lot of times we volunteer because we want to explore new skills, and that's perfectly fine. But when you are a leader of an organization, and just, going back to the question that was just asked about time, we don't always have a lot of time to mentor. So when looking to develop skills that you do not already acquire, mentorship often is a better route than volunteering, because volunteering, we need people that can really hit the ground running and pick up that ball and run with it and move things forward. So if you know what you're looking for, know how you want to be involved, and know how you can provide some skills or some direction, that's always welcomed. I will say too, on the other side, that as leaders of organizations, we have to be ready to accept those volunteers. So sometimes we put calls out of, we're looking for volunteers, and the volunteers show up and we have nothing for them to do. We can't do that. We have to be prepared for when people show up at our doorstep to say, yes, we need someone to redesign our website. We need someone just to monitor the inbox and then bring things to our attention, or we're going to host this event and you could lead it if you want to, if you have done that before and you're excited about that. But maybe you just play a role in the event, just one part of it if you want to dip your toes in. And so it's important for us to know where we need help so that when people come to us, we can help them.
Looks like we have one more question for you. And Dennis and I tag teamed on part of the question already, but I will ask you this piece. So if someone was interested in joining CUCSA or staff assembly, how could someone get started? And we answered the staff assembly part, but if you'd like to address CUCSA, that would be great.
Yeah, the route to CUCSA is through staff assembly. So as I was mentioning in one of the other questions, is with Riverside, San Diego, Santa Barbara, the way that we source our CUCSA delegates is they are the current chair and chair-elect. Some of the other campuses and locations, you can throw your name in for nomination and then they have an election. So it really depends on your specific location. Essentially, the staff assemblies, staff associations, staff councils, we all use kind of a different name for them. They are an extension of CUCSA. It's just you're doing more of the work at a local level, but that doesn't mean when you're involved at your local staff assembly level that you can't work on system-wide issues, because you have these two delegates that serve on CUCSA who you can ask to meet with. Obviously reach out to them, share your concerns with them, ideas that you have with them, so that they make their way to the delegation, to the full delegation, so that we can talk about those things. I talked about imposter syndrome and this idea of like, as a leader, we're just supposed to know everything. At some point, I don't know when it happened, I don't know when I turned that page, accepted that I do not know everything. And I'm okay not knowing everything. I'm okay telling you that I'm not going to pretend that there's no reason to. Like, I'm Jen, and you either like Jen or you don't like Jen. And I can benefit so much from all of you because of where you've been and what you've experienced. And there's no way that we could have experienced the same things. We're different people living in different places, different lives completely. So how do I know what you've gone through and what you've been involved in? So I rely heavily on people sharing those stories with me. And, I also can't watch the news 24/7 and be in touch with everything. And so, and I'm speaking personally, not just, as the CUCSA chair-elect. I just mean that I don't think I ever approach someone saying, how did you not know this? It's more of, are you aware that this is happening? Because I didn't know, so now I'm telling you, and I'm hoping we can get the word out. So I try to encourage people a lot to say, please don't assume that I know, or that even the CUCSA board, if we use that as the example, that we know everything that's going on just because we're CUCSA leadership and we meet with a lot of people, but maybe we're not meeting with the right people all the time for this issue that you're bringing to us. So you know, a lot of times I also hear people ask, how do I ask a question? I have this question and I'm just afraid. And I think we all reach our level of confidence and comfortability at different times in our lives. So I get that some people are not there yet, and it can be in different arenas that you might be comfortable asking a question among all your friends or your family, but you might not be comfortable doing it at your department or, you know, in a staff assembly meeting. And maybe you do grow to that point. And I'm probably not going to be the first person to tell you this, but if you're thinking it, there is a good chance that someone else is thinking that same question or has that doubt. And maybe it's not in that meeting, but I can almost guarantee that someone thought it at a previous meeting or in a previous instance. So it's okay. And I think we do have to accept that we are all UC, and there should be some level of, I said should be some level of trust that we're all trying to learn and that we're all just doing the best work that we can do. So bring your ideas was the meaning of that.
Love it, Jen. We have another question.
Sure.
This one hurts my heart too. I'm just going to say, what if you have a supervisor that is not supportive of you volunteering unless it's only before or after work hours? How do you navigate through a situation like that?
You find another job. Sorry. It is hard. I have been in that situation. Like, I guess fortunately less times than I've not been. It's difficult to change the culture of your organization. And I'm using the term organization as like your unit, your team, the department that you're in. I have been in that situation where if it wasn't during lunch, I wasn't going to go to a meeting. And the meetings were in person. My office was off campus and meetings were in the center of campus, and getting there alone took 20 minutes. And you have to figure out if there is a way to have a conversation with your supervisor about the principles of community. It just depends on that supervisor. And I understand that people are afraid of any ramifications that can have. So you reach out to people who you can trust and you can have these conversations with. So I know people aren't always excited to do so, but finding people either in human resources or even the ombudsman office, don't think of those groups as a place you have to go when there's a big problem, because this is important to you. So it is a big problem. So finding a way to navigate through that conversation, I always try to think about where a conversation can go potentially. And so, you know, if I say this to my supervisor, what could they say back? And a lot of times we think things that are logical, and then our supervisor hits us with something that is like complete left field. And you're like, I didn't even see that coming. So now I don't know how to respond. I say all this to say that I don't think, again, given your unique situation, it's not something you're taking lightly. It's not something that you can just go and have a 5-minute conversation about. It's something that's going to take some work to make sure that you're prepared to have that conversation. Again, it is a unique situation. It's not one that we can just give a blanket recommendation to. And the reason I say human resources or ombudsbuds is because they likely are familiar with your organization, at least the campus culture. But we all know that different departments, different teams, different units are different. But it's confidential. And so to be able to have that conversation with people who have a little bit more of an understanding of where you're coming from in that unit, department, what have you, can be really helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. And Dennis has also put some comments in the chat I think are very helpful. One thing I want to just re-emphasize, especially specific to UCR, our provost every year, she writes a letter of support to anybody that's on the staff assembly board, and it's sent directly to their supervisors saying, hey, let's support them to have the time off, to be able to attend these events, to be able to help, because it's such important work. So that's an added bonus. And I think a lot of campuses do have that great relationship, and they have that too. So
Yep.
if you're interested in staff assembly, seriously, hit me up anytime. You have my email, it's in the chat. So
Yes.
I think that's it for questions. Jen, anything else you want to add before I close this out?
No, I just want to thank all of you for joining me today. Thank you for the great questions and comments. And thank you again to the organizers of the UCR staff conference. This is amazing. And I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to present to all of you today.
Well, thank you, Jen. This was an amazing presentation. It was so great to hear this from you. So thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. This was our last virtual session of the day. We hope you've enjoyed it. As you know, our staff conference is 100% free to attend. Couldn't do it without the generous support of our sponsors, Staff Assembly, Lead, and HR. So just a couple quick reminders if you're interested in volunteering. The Lead nominations for their board are now open, and the Staff Assembly board elections will be happening the first week of April. So again, erica.leone@ucr.edu. No hesitation, just reach out to me if you have a question. I'm looking at you, all of you. But outside of that, have a wonderful day. I hope to see all of you at our closing session in person at the UCR Alumni Center. There'll be food, there'll be prizes. I'll race you there. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you again, Jen, Dennis, all of you. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Jen. Bye.
Thank you.